So in part 1 of this 2-part series, we looked at why Teen Titans Go fails as a comedy. Obviously, not being funny was a pretty big reason, but even the level of contempt this show has for its audience is something I did not expect to be explored as much in the last video. Why? Because while it is one of the hallmarks of the series, I honestly didn't think of it much in that context. That was sort of what this video was supposed to be about. Part 2 was going to explore its failures as a reboot and a meta-commentary through a hand-picked episode of the show. I could have picked a few episodes to demonstrate that, but the one I'm going to show in this video is one that I think has unique problems that draw me to it particularly as a cartoon critic. That's what this channel's about, and so I only see it fitting to accentuate criticisms only I could give through my own perspective. As a result, you may see me take more things personally than I typically would. And that really doesn't seem to be something I should be saying, but I only bring it up because I want to let you guys know, no matter how angry I get in this video, this show as a whole is one of the least bad things I've reviewed in my 2 years of doing this. And when you talk about Teen Titans Go, you always have to remind yourself that the people overreacting to this show for views are just that, overreacting. Here's what I mean by that. Sure, going absolutely ballistic over this show might get me more views, but it would do so at the cost of my image, my integrity, and, well, expressing my actual opinions. I bet a lot of you expected me to hate this show, and well, yeah, that is true, I do hate this show. It's not for the reasons you might expect. I wouldn't mind having a more comedically focused Teen Titans show, or even one that does meta-commentaries like Gumball does. But it's bad at both of those things. And when you combine that with some of its most ardent defenders claiming hypocrisy by saying, "Well, Gumball does it and you love that show," I have a hard time staying silent. You know that's a stupid argument, and I know that's a stupid argument. Just because two shows do the same thing, that doesn't mean you have to like both of them. By that logic, I have to hate every sub sandwich in existence because I dislike Subway. But that isn't true. It's possible for some shows to do meta-commentary better than others. And the flaws with Teen Titans Go meta-commentary are pretty obvious. They place the humor with the wrong people. When Gumball does it, they're laughing with the audience. Teen Titans Go's meta-commentary insults the audience and expects those same people they insulted to find it funny. But I've talked enough about that, let's get into the actual episode. So the episode starts with a villain that's a stand-in for the audience complaining about the Teen Titans, and already we can see that any metaphors in this episode are going to be made in bad faith. That's not me reading too deep into it, the episode is making a mockery of people who complain that Cartoon Network airs the show too much. They're certainly not as bad as they used to be about that, but it still is a problem.
What they really want are classic cartoons like Johnny Quest, Josie and the Pussycats, and Scooby-Doo!
You're right, and Cartoon Network used to have a whole channel for that, and instead of airing those shows, it's become a dumping ground for shows Cartoon Network doesn't want on their main channel. So this discussion leads them to the Family Feud, and I have no idea how they got the rights to use the theme song, but that doesn't matter. What follows is something that needs to be seen to be believed. The other, quote, family in this game just happens to be the cast of Scooby-Doo, which, come on, how does Scooby-Doo keep finding its way into the episodes I review? I mean, the episode I reviewed of Little Bush was even a parody of Scooby-Doo. Also, apparently, Frank Welker is still voicing Fred after all these years. It's a bit jarring, though, to hear him with not the original cast, and that's not even really something they could have helped. But here's the problem I have, and we will see this as it goes on. The episode treats people watching this as either only Scooby-Doo fans or only Teen Titans Go fans, and it's impossible for someone to like both of them. Because if I was in that camp, I'd be pretty offended by this episode. Not to mention the fact that they had to convert these classic characters into the stilted Teen Titans Go art style, complete with stilted animation and a color palette that makes me want to throw up.
Now, whichever team wins today's game will receive a dedicated time slot on network television!
Oh, now I see the game they're playing. The character that only enjoys classic cartoons and not Teen Titans Go is the villain of the episode, which, even if unintentional, can seem a bit antagonistic of the people you're trying to get to watch your show. Because no matter what, Teen Titans Go writers, you can't separate yourself from the fact that without cartoons like Scooby-Doo, you would not be where you are today. It's sort of like telling your grandfather you wish he was never born. So, people like cartoons from the 60s more than you. Get over yourself. If a cartoon is going to act this self-righteous in opposition to its own inspiration, imagine what it thinks of you, the people that enjoy that inspiration. Even if you enjoy this show, that has to at least turn you off a little bit to the intent of these types of episodes. Going back to the Gumball example, is there anything about those meta episodes that even slightly hints that they're disrespecting the things they make fun of? Because here I'm getting a sense that Teen Titans Go feels like it's entitled to an audience solely based off the fact that it's based on a pre-existing property. When you do a spin-off, sequel, reboot, whatever this is, you can't afford to do that. In the beginning, was the goal not at least slightly to appeal to fans of the original? Because with all these episodes making fun of the show's detractors, I'd say they realized that fans of the original didn't like the show and decided to be bitter about it just to spite them.
100 people were surveyed, and their top 5 answers are on the board. Why are the Teen Titans an abomination?
I know the joke is that this is supposed to be a loaded question, but come on, there are better ways you could have structured that.
Gee, I've just met them, but if I had to guess, they could be friendlier?
Yeah, if you haven't guessed by now, all these answers are supposed to be common criticisms of the show. Yeah, you're gonna have to really try hard to thread that needle, and I don't see you succeeding. So, after one wrong answer, the Teen Titans get to steal, and I don't think they know how Family Feud is supposed to work.
Why is the Scooby Gang so much more entertaining and funny and all around better than those lame, stupid dum-dums, the Teen Titans?
Because of versatile voice actor Frank Welker.
Fourth wall breaks do kind of come with the territory when you're talking about these kinds of episodes, but I have to wonder why that specific one was so dull. There seemed to be a lot more potential there, but they absolutely do nothing with it.
Is it because they get along like a real team?
I'll be honest, if that's a real complaint people had about this show, this is the first time I'm hearing about it. Of course, I'm not going to say it's necessarily a baseless claim, but there doesn't seem to be any reason for it. It's also not really why the original Scooby-Doo series was so popular. If you want to draw parallels and be reflective, this is not the way to do it. Not only that, but comparing Teen Titans Go to a classic cartoon is like apples and oranges. This episode is based on a criticism that basically doesn't exist. While there are people that want more classic cartoon shows to air on Cartoon Network, comparing those shows to Teen Titans Go, parody or not, doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I know the next one. They don't try so hard to be funny. They're naturally charming.
That is something I'd easily be able to say for the original Teen Titans as well. So it's not the characters themselves that people have a problem with, it's the way they've been written to basically be the same characters and do whatever the plot wants. So they end up losing and have this Scooby-Doo style chase scene which kind of invalidates everything this episode tried to make a commentary of. If the Teen Titans do the exact same things as the Scooby-Doo gang, what's the point of comparing who's better and who's worse? And even if you did, they'd be disingenuous comparisons anyway, because these two shows and casts are from two completely different eras made for two completely different purposes.
We were inserted into this episode as a cheap ratings ploy.
Ah yes, the mask is off now. They are completely aware of the brand power that Scooby-Doo has built over the years, and using them as a foil for the Teen Titans was honestly bait for this episode to have any kind of meaning beyond itself. It would kind of be like a talk show host having a guest on their show only to make fun of them and never actually interview them. I know this comes off as incredibly anal, but if you're going to do a crossover episode, if the whole point of it is to say, our show is better than the other show, why even bring in the other show at all? It doesn't really seem to be an homage so much as a damage control for the show's image. If Teen Titans Go would stop doing these kinds of episodes, and barring that stop doing them so badly, most people would leave them alone. And then the episode ends by revealing Fred's conjoined twin, who's apparently supposed to be another villain that just looks like a penis attached to his neck. So, what have we learned here from this episode? Well, I think it's pretty important to remember the show we're talking about. This is Teen Titans Go, and you cannot kill Teen Titans Go. It will always have an audience of little kids who don't know or care about these stupid arguments we have on the internet. So then, what's the point of me talking about it? Why should I care about some dumb kids show that I'm not in the target audience for? Well, on some level, that's exactly why I should care. If these writers are going to keep making episodes talking about criticisms of the show, am I really not in the target demographic for them? They're certainly trying to talk to critics like me, and if they'd stop, I and many other critics would leave the show alone. You guys seem to forget that Teen Titans Go is based off a pre-existing property, one that was beloved by many people and that ended on a cliffhanger. And when we found out the Teen Titans were getting a new series, many fans were really excited, only to be disappointed in what the show ended up being. To say it's just a dumb kids show is stupid, and it's something I talked about in my last video, but it's a bit different in this context. When you're duped into thinking the show is for fans of the original show, only to be met with hostility from the show itself, what does that really say about how you view your own audience? That's something I'll let you guys think about. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.